Welcome to the next lesson in the Google Sheets for beginners or novice or even experts, because tips and tricks, things you don't know about sometimes. You don't know what you don't know. But we're taking this as if everyone's a beginner, and today we're going to be talking about using copy and paste some more, a little more advanced, and we're going to talk about splitting text, which is really a simple thing. But first we're going to talk about copying and pasting. We did talk about using Control-C and Control-V to copy and paste in the past, and we looked at that. So I'm going to review that real fast, and then we'll talk about some other things. So let's jump over to our spreadsheet, and there we go. So now we're on our spreadsheet, and we did copying and pasting before. We talked about how you could copy and paste from a website, that you could do a list and you could copy. And we talked about Control-C. Let's see, I think I have it in here. I know in one of these I put there's all kinds of data going on there. One of these I put, there we go. So, that was the undo and redo. I should add Control plus C is copy, and Control plus V is paste. So that's Control C and Control V. And I almost forgot to, let me say it really quick, bottom right hand corner of your screen of the video, just below this, the YouTube video, is that little settings button. Don't forget, you can click that. Make sure you're watching this in high definition so you can see all this text, and also make sure that you are watching this at a speed that's appropriate for you. If you want to watch a little bit faster, you can speed things up in that setting as well if I'm going a little slow for you. So that may make it easier. I'm going to zoom this a little bit. That'll make it easier for you to see as well. Okay, so we talked about Control-C, Control-V for copy and paste. We talked about how you can go onto the internet or in an email and you can copy a table like this, or you can copy a list even from the internet and use Control-C to paste. And we saw that, let's see, list of fruit. I'm going to hopefully find just a list. Wikipedia is usually good for lists. So, okay, so yeah, so this was here's a chart. So we're going to copy that. I'm going to hit Control, well, I'm going to hit right click and then C for copy. And then we're going to go on to a blank sheet. Would be blank. Go here, and then I'm going to Control-V for paste. And remember, we got this little clipboard that didn't allow us to say, when we did it, we just Control-pasted, so that's just paste as is. So this is, the links are still here, all the formatting is still there, but you can also do the values only. So we talked about how that just puts the values. It removes all the hyperlinks and all the formatting and just puts the values, which is a lot of times if you're copying and pasting from another source, not from a spreadsheet, that's what you want to do. But you could also when you Control-V to paste, there's also the option for format only. Probably kind of one of the lesser used paste, and we'll talk about that as well, because we're going to talk about copying and pasting using right click is what we're going to talk about today. So if you go over here and go to our, let's go, no, I don't want that one, let's go back to, gotta find the right set of data to use for this. I guess we can use this, and not the one I want to use. There we go. That's the one I wanted to use. Fonts. So if we highlight all this, rather than Control-C for copy, you can right-click. Now I'm just going to tell you right now that the first time you right click because you want to copy or paste something, so I just copied and it was exactly the same thing as Control C. So Control C is actually a shortcut, but sometimes depending on what you're doing, right clicking is actually faster. And right click and then just copy. And so this is now copied. The first time you try that and you do copy, or it might have when you do paste, you might get a little pop-up from Google Drive, Google Sheets that says you need to add an add-on in order to be able to use right-click. And I would say go ahead and do that. I don't know why that is exactly, why that is a requirement in order for it to work on Google Sheets. Maybe because it's on a web page. But you might get that. I've already done it, so I'm not going to get that. And I tried to find a way to show it to you guys, but every way I tried, I had already installed it. But just so you know, the first time you right-click and you click paste, you might get a pop-up from Google saying you need to install this extension or add-on for Sheets in order to be able to use the right-click. And so just go ahead and do that. It's easy to do. You just click the button and then you do. Now, you can see when you right-click, you get just your paste. That's exactly the same as if you hit Control V. It would just paste it. But you also have Paste Special, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. Because a lot of times you may want to paste the values, and we'll talk about what that means. You may want to paste format. I don't use this that much, but you might use it depending on what you're doing. I'll explain it. Paste all except borders. Paste column widths only. I've never used that, but maybe you'll run into a case where you want to. And then here are the lesser used one. Paste formula only. Paste data validation only. That we're not going to talk about. It's more advanced. Paste conditional formatting only. Again, more advanced. We're not going to talk about that. Or paste transposed. I will talk about that one because that one's a simple one and one you might want to use. So let's talk about what all these are. Well, if you just right click and paste, oh, there we go. That's the thing I was talking about. So here we go. Enable copy, cut, and paste. Copy, cut, and paste using the edit menus. Install this Google Chrome extension. So I'm going to install that. It's an extension for Google Docs. Oh, I see. It's not allowing me to do that because I'm in incognito mode. It's how I have to teach these lessons. Let's see. Does that mean it's not going to work? Nope, still works. Just doesn't work for the paste. So control and then right click and then paste doesn't work without installing that extension. But paste special does work. So and this is the same as Control V. So if you want to use that, you can just install that extension. I can't install it because I'm using incognito mode, as you see up here on the right. I'm in incognito mode for these lessons. But for you can just go ahead and install that extension if you want. But you don't have to because you can just use Control V for paste. But you can still use paste special without doing that. So let's talk about if you just paste this, Control V, it just paste it, and you get your little clipboard where you can switch to one of these things. And basically you've pasted exactly what was up here. But if we go to paste special, values only. So if I click that, here's the difference. None of the formatting. You can see none of the formatting, none of the bolding, none of the dollar signs, just the actual number. Also over here, these are numbers, but if you click up here, remember these aren't numbers, this is actually a formula. If you look up in your formula bar at the top left, you see this is actually a formula that's been used to calculate based on the information that's input in amount paid. This gets calculated. But when you paste the values only, you remove the formulas and you just paste whatever that value is that that formula came up with. So why is that important? This is one of the ones actually that you'll probably use the most. That's because let's say somebody sends you this sheet and it has this formula right there. if you start changing, if you want to manipulate this information and change stuff, you might run into trouble because there are formulas that are calculating things. And so you don't want to change or manipulate it on here because you don't want to mess up these calculations. So you copy, and then you go to a new sheet, and then you right click and you go paste special, paste values only. So now you have all the same information, and if you want, you can change this back to being dollars. You can change this column back to being dollars, but these are no longer formulas. So you can, if you change this, it's not going to recalculate anything over here. You're just dealing with the raw data. And that can be useful. There are times when that's helpful. One job I had 2 different sheets, and then I had a third sheet where I used a bunch of complex formulas to pull information from sheet 1 and sheet 2 to get it to sheet 3. But now once I did that, we needed to be able to then take that information and manipulate it. Well, because they were all formulas, we couldn't do that with the formulas. We needed to just do it with the actual results of those formulas. And that's what you do when you paste values only. If there's any formulas, then when you paste values only, you're only pasting the results of those formulas and not the formulas themselves. And I'll show you the difference. If I go back to funds and I copy, and then I go back here and I Control V to paste. So when I click on this $2, even though it's showing $2, the actual value that is inside that cell, if you look up in your formula bar, is this formula, equals sum 10 minus B13. You may not know what that means right now, and that's okay because we're not covering formulas much in this series. But you're going to get spreadsheets that have formulas in them. You just need to know what that is. The formula is what's calculating the $2. So that cell does not, it's displaying $2, but it doesn't contain $2. It contains this formula to display that. But up here where we pasted the values only, because we pasted the values only, now this cell actually contains a value of 2. And this cell actually contains a value of 5. Whereas down here, it contains a formula. So that's why pasting values only is very, very important. The 2 things that you're going to use the most are Control V and just paste as is, because you want to keep everything exactly the way it is. You're literally just copying everything. And the second one is paste values only, when you want to just put the values and not the formulas or the formatting. And that can be important there. Also, like you saw, can be important if I'm copying from here and I'm copying this into this spreadsheet. Let's add a new tab. Then I can right click, go to paste special, paste values only. Oh, it didn't. Did I not copy that? Copy. Paste special. Paste values. Oh, it's because I still. So here's a little trick. I don't know if I've talked to you about this yet, but if we go back, the problem is this inside my spreadsheet. This is still copied. So I'm going to hit the escape button to escape that. Should now work. Go here. Control C for copy. Go to the sheet. And paste special, paste values only. Why is this not copying? And it copied then, and then I choose paste values only, but it should also work to right click. Oh. Yeah, so that might be because I didn't install that extension I was talking about. Since I didn't install that extension, I think the right-clicking and choosing Paste Special is only applying to anything I've copied inside of the sheet itself and not something I've copied from the outside. But I can copy from the outside, obviously, paste, and then choose paste values only, which is gets you to the same place. But if you're copying something from inside the sheet, then you can right click and paste special, paste values only. So that's still just going to be the information inside the sheet. So that's something just to note. But the main point is paste values only takes away the formatting, takes away, if you're pasting from within your sheet, takes away the values, the formulas, and just paste the values. And that's when you're going to use a lot. So now let's talk about one of the other things that you're going to do a lot, and that's some of the other paste options. Let's go back to funds. We copy this, and then paste special. Now paste format only. It's really only going to apply, that'd be pointless to do here because there's nothing here. But if we go over to this other sheet where we pasted this stuff, so remember we pasted values only, so we took away the formulas, no formulas here. But if I copy this, it's the same as what I copied, and I right click and go to paste special, paste format only, you'll see it formatted these as dollars. So they weren't dollars before, now they're dollars. Or you see it again, copy the same chart, see these are just the number is there. This is 2, this is 8, and now I say paste special, paste format only, and now it pasted the formatting from this table. So that's what formats are. It copies the format and pastes the format. I don't use that very often because to me it's just as easy to go in here and highlight this column and tell it I want it to be dollars. But just so you know, that's what the paste format does. Format only does it. Just paste the formatting of whatever you copy. Now paste all except borders. That's if you have borders inside of your cell. I think we had something that we had borders around. Yeah, so this has borders. We're gonna copy that, and we're gonna go down here, and we're gonna go paste special, paste all except borders. And you see it pasted everything, but it didn't paste those borders around the cells. So in this sheet, in this data table, we have these borders around here, and down here you have the exact same information without the borders. So pretty self-explanatory, pretty simple. Just paste the data, but leave out the borders. Everything else it does. Again, we're going to right-click, and the last one I wanted to show you. Well, there is paste formula only because we're not really talking about formulas in this class. That's not going to mean much to you, but obviously this is the reverse of paste format only. And paste formula only, you're ignoring the data and you're just pasting the formula. We'll just do that just so you can see what happens. I'm gonna right click and copy all of this. Go down here, right click, paste special, paste formula only. So basically what that does is it takes away all the formatting. So you can see there's no formatting, because if we just Control V, you get the formatting, you get the dollar signs and stuff. But when you paste formula only, you're going to get just the formulas that are in there. You're not going to get the data. Now here, because these cells had no formula, then these are actually what's in the cell. You're just pasting that. Here, though, you can see the formula was pasted. Now, a better example of this is if I copy just this column, and then I go here, and I paste formula only. Well, now you can see the data has changed because the formula is 10 minus something, except there's no data here for it to actually work with. So this formula is always going to end up in 10 because it doesn't have an amount paid to work with. There's a blank column here. So paste formula only will ignore formatting, but paste exactly what is inside each cell, including the formulas. But it removes formatting. So that's that one. And then the other one I wanted to show you that I think is actually useful, and that is, let's go to, this will work. So if we highlight just these names, and we have 7 names there, and I'm going to copy those names, and now I'm going to highlight 7 cells, but across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now I'm going to right click and say paste special, paste transposed. And you can see it took all those names, and because I had 7 cells highlighted, it pasted them. If I just pasted normal paste, Control V, it pastes down because it's going to copy exactly the way it was with what I had highlighted, which was this. But when you paste transposed, you're saying paste it into what I have highlighted. And so I've highlighted 7 across and then paste transposed, so it transposes from horizontal to vertical. And it works both ways. If I right click this and click copy, and then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and paste special, paste transpose. Now it went from vertical to horizontal. So that's what paste transpose does. So again, just to kind of quickly review what those are, just kind of jump around a little bit, a lot of information. Want to make sure you understand. We've got copy. Obviously, you can just Control C. It's the same either way. Paste, which is Control V. But paste special, paste values only. Ignores any formulas. It doesn't paste. If there's a formula in the cell, it doesn't paste the formula. It pastes the results. It pastes what is displayed, what you see actually in the cell, not what's in the formula bar. Paste formatting only is if you want to copy the formatting from one chart over to another chart, and it ignores any of the values, it just pastes the formatting. Paste all except borders will paste basically the same as Control V, except if there happens to be borders, it'll ignore any borders. Paste column widths, we're ignoring. Paste formula only, probably not going to use that, but just so you know, that will paste. Ignores formatting, but paste what is actually inside a cell, and if that's a formula, it's going to paste the formula. And then paste transpose transposes something from a vertical list to a horizontal list, if you want. And that's what those do. Now, the only other thing I want to show you, and this is an easy one and a short one, and can be kind of useful, and that's auto split data, which is kind of helpful. So if I highlight this column, you can see these are names separated by commas, and I go to data and then go to split text to columns. You can see it's split out. Because it was a last name comma first name, Google Sheets knows, oh, okay, the comma is the separator of the two values, and now we're going to split those into 2 separate columns. So now you could have last name and then over here first name. So really easy, quick way to split data if you need to. To show that in a different circumstance, we'll go back to this one and we'll go to drivers. So you could highlight, now there are no commas in this, but let's say you wanted, instead of having Mr. Sanders, Mr. Smith, Miss Thomas, you wanted to have surname in column A and last name in column B. So you highlight column A, you go to data, you go to split text to columns. Now over here you see this popped up, detect automatically. It wants to know what there, because there is no comma. If there's a comma, it'll almost always just automatically say comma, but there's no comma here, so it's not sure. So you click this and you can tell it what is the separator you want to use. and in this case, the separator is a space because it's Mr. Space Ender, Mr. Space. So I'm going to say space, and you see it copied it over. Now, when you don't have commas, you can see it copied it over, but it did erase what was in that column. So if you're doing this, a good thing to do is insert column left so that you have a spare column, and then you go to data and split text columns and space, and now you still have your data. You might not have seen that in the other one, but let's look right here. So we have name, we have locker number. Now in this case, we go data and we go split columns, and you see locker number is no longer there because when you split you split it to the next column over. It doesn't know that you didn't want to copy on top of what was already there. So what you always want to do, if you want to keep this information, you just highlight, right click, and insert one left. Now you have a new column. We're going to get more into that inserting columns and stuff in the formatting, which is a couple lessons away. But just so you can see that you need to do that before you split, because now we have the locker number still because we already had a blank column for that information to split into. So that's auto split data into columns. There are times when that can come in handy. Someone sends you a sheet, and especially more than anything else, it's a sheet that has either last name comma first name or first name last name, and you need those in two separate columns, and this is how you can easily split that information out. So that's auto split data, and that's copy and paste, and that is going to be it for this lesson. So hopefully that made sense. When I'm teaching, when I'm going through these different things come up, and sometimes things don't work exactly the way I thought they were, and I have to retry them. And that is just the art and fun of working with spreadsheets. But hopefully as you're going through that with me, and that's why I do the same thing over and over and over again, because I know repetition is really, you need to see it. But don't forget, as I pointed out in one of my earlier lessons, the best way to learn is to redo stuff. So maybe you finish this lesson, you're not sure about it, go back and rewatch it if you need to, and then practice with the download practice sheets that you have. Links are in the description below to download those sheets or add those sheets to your drive so that you can practice yourself, because you definitely want to do that in order to solidify these things. So practice copying and pasting, and especially paste special, those different ways you can paste to see what happens and the different results you get, so you kind of learn how that works. Of course, undo and redo, Control Z, where do we have that? I think we have that. Yeah, I know I have it somewhere. Let's go. I want to show that. There you go. So you can see the Control Z is undo and Control Y is redo. So remember, you can always use those, or just use the little the little buttons that are up here for undo and redo, so that you can don't worry about messing anything up. You can always undo and get back to where you were. Don't be afraid to try different things. Also, auto split data can come in handy. Make sure you practice with that as well. Anyway, that's going to be it for this lesson. Don't forget to click that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Especially favorite this playlist so you can keep up with the future lessons in these series. And that's really it. Practice, and then come back for the next one. Oh, well, that's it until next time. So have a great day.